Look at the photo. 15% body fat. Does that look fat to you? Coach Greg, in today's video, there's no way this guy can be natural. I mean, look at the guy. And this started several years ago. Guy has an amazing physique, perhaps too amazing. And so Brett Mossing, who's amassed over 300,000 followers, has been bulking and cutting for years. He's made several videos, full day of eating, I'm going on a bulk, I'm going on a cut, back and forth, up and down, yo-yo, every single year. And so the question is this guy natural, and did his bulking and cutting actually work? 4 months ago, after bulking to 205 pounds while maintaining a complete and shredded six-pack, he decided, I'm going to enter a natural bodybuilding competition. And so considering the fact that he had the option to enter a non-drug test show versus a show that's drug testing, you gotta think, well, the guy might in fact be natural. I mean, after all, what if he failed the test? And so he went on his cutting journey. The guy went from being 205 pounds to weighing in at 171 point whatever pounds. And so in total, he lost 33 pounds. And remember, he started with sub 15% body fat. The guy always had amazing abs, great V-taper, but carried a little bit more fat in his legs. This is very common in natural athletes. Just compare him to, for example, Will Tennyson. Will Tennyson recently transformed his physique. He was 201 pounds, very close to Brett Mossing's size, although significantly taller, and he lost 12 pounds in 30 days. But if you see him flex, you can see he's still carrying a significant amount of body fat. And so if Will does in fact want to compete, he's likely going to have to get as light as Brett Mossing or perhaps even lighter. And many of you are thinking, yeah, but he could just cycle off. Well, maybe. But let's dig a little deeper. What kind of genetics does Brett Mossing possess? And so I found a photo of him at the age of 14. And if you look at his physique, you can already see the muscles starting to form. I see protruding six-pack as well as well-defined chest, arms, and so on. And so based on the fact that he clearly has a far superior looking physique at the age of 14 than most kids his age, and so it stands to reason that if he were to train hard, he clearly would have an above average looking physique. Exactly 23.5 pounds difference between the left and right, end of last cut, end of current bulk. Besides my midsection, which is completely genetic, I've always been able to keep my abs at a higher body fat percentage. My legs, love handles, and back hold most of my added body fat. A lot of y'all saying I didn't bulk hard enough, but don't let the middle abs fool you. I'm softer than a Boston cream pie right now. Well, that's a little bit of a stretch. I do have Boston cream pie donuts in my anabolic cookbook 3.0, and I can tell you they're very soft, a lot softer than Brett Mossing's physique. And to those saying he didn't bulk hard enough, what do you think? You have to get fat to put on muscle? If he's at perhaps 15% body fat in his offseason, I know you're thinking maybe he's a little bit leaner, but he openly states my back carries most of my body fat and so do my legs. And so this could very well be 15% body fat. And so why would he bulk up any higher than that? Do you really think that by just adding in more food, more calories, getting fat in the offseason, that you're going to put on more muscle? Well, let's argue that he would. What if he continued to bulk? Rather than going up to 205, let's say he goes up to 225, completely loses his abs, doesn't like the way his physique looks, loses his cardio, and then what happens? He'd then have to cut down, and to cut down, he would have to lose an additional 20 pounds. Does that make sense? If you are in fact a bodybuilder, why would you gain so much weight in the offseason that you have to diet for 6 months to take it off? It makes no sense. And so what is the difference between Brett Mossing's technique and mine? Well, Brett bulks and cuts, and I suggest to main gain. And what would I do if I were Brett Mossing's coach? You see that off-season bulk state that he's in? I would tell him to main gain that all the time. I would tell him, get to that body fat percentage where you feel the most comfortable, you have energy, you feel good, and stay there and build muscle. What's with this bulking and cutting? 23.5 pounds difference. Why was there a cut in the first place? Why are we all cutting? He's not competing in a bodybuilding contest. Why not live and be happy at a healthy body fat percentage? Does anyone think that he looks fat on the right? Look at the photo. 15% body fat. Does that look fat to you? He's saying I'm softer than the Boston cream donut. Is he really? How many of you would love to look like that? When you're main gaining, you're eating plenty of calories, you're feeling healthy, you have lots of energy, you can recover, your testosterone levels are optimized, and so what's wrong with that? And then if you end up bodybuilding, you don't have to cut nearly as long. And so my suggestion, keep your body fat at whatever percent is healthy for you. Perhaps for Brett, it's 12. Maybe it's somewhere between these photos. Perhaps to get to 15%, he has to force feed, to eat 4,000 calories a day. Perhaps he's not comfortable and doesn't like it, but whatever that calorie intake may be that makes him feel good, that's the one I would suggest he main gains at. I wouldn't say, Brett, the photo on the left, way better, main gain at that weight. Why are you bulking up to 15% body fat? You look so much better in the photo on the left. I don't say that. I say to main gain at a healthy weight for you. If the left was hard to maintain, he was in a cut, didn't have energy, then why would he maintain that body weight? It would make no sense. And so Brett Mosing has recently competed in his first natural bodybuilding contest, and spoiler alert, he won middleweight and overall. It wasn't even close. I know the judges tried to make it look close. Let's take Brett out of the center of the five guys and put him on the right, and let's put the other guy in the middle. Maybe Brett isn't the champion. But Brett was a clear winner. It was obvious he was winning the middleweight class. And within 3 seconds of seeing the overall lineup, I knew he was going to take the overall. It wasn't close. He clearly deserved the victory, and so he's a natural pro in the WNBF. And remember, it's his first competition, but in natural organizations, it's very easy to earn a pro card. And sorry, I'm not trying to take away his glory. I'm saying it's very easy to win a natural pro card in a different organization aside from the IFBB. He competed against 5 guys to win the middleweight and then won the overall. In my competition, there were 27 guys in my weight class, of which you had to place in the top 3 in your selective province to get to that level. So by the time you compete in that competition, everyone is amazing. The person who's 20th place is in fact amazing. And so as you can see, compared to Larry Wheels, look at the size difference. Brett Mosing, who's gained 6 pounds from the competition, weighing around 177, 178 here, you can clearly see he's very small in comparison to Larry Wheels. However, he does have amazing aesthetics, and this allows him to look amazing when standing on stage. He doesn't need the size to look good as a bodybuilder. And so he posts on his Instagram, natty or not, at Greg Doucette IB Pro Doc, 2 days out, first natural show. And so because Brett Mosing and I talk in the DMs quite often, he wanted me to comment on his natural status. Obviously, when you ask me for your opinion on if you're natty or not, chances are you're probably in fact natural. Why would you want me to do some digging? Why would you want me to do some research if in fact you aren't natural? But when you know you're natural and you have nothing to hide, well, why would you fear calling out Coach Greg? And so I wrote, I'd assume you're natty, and I'd say you're going to be 7.5% body fat at the show, and I'm guessing 173 pounds. Am I close? Remember, I had no idea what he weighed. I'm guessing his body fat, and I guess his body weight. He said he weighed in at 171 point whatever pounds, and that he was 172 on stage. I literally asked him this in his DMs. And so am I way off? To me, it looked like he was close to 7%, and so I think I got it pretty much bang on. But what do the commenters say? When it comes down to it, Greg the Doucette, you don't know, so just shut the cookbook up about natty versus enhanced BS. It's none of your cooking business. And so really, the guy literally asked me, hey, Coach Greg, can you do a natty or not? And the response after I say, yeah, I think you're natural, and I think this is your body fat percentage, because he again asked me what percent body fat I thought he was. The response is, shut the F up, you cookbook. Damn! Try to help the guy out and say, hey, I'm going to do a video about you, try and promote you. And the haters come out and say, Coach Greg is such an evil, horrible human being. Well, yay! Thanks for helping. Thanks for cheering me on. What a great person you really are. Well, Brett did tag and ask him. I mean, really imagine people writing these kind of comments, but hey, that's my daily life. Nah, Doucette gets his shrunken nuts off by doing this natty or not shit. He needs to shut his effing high-pitched, annoying ASF mouth. Has been, never was. Well, interesting opinion, but apparently the people, they want to keep seeing the natty or nots. When I go around and meet the thousands of fans and take photos, of which I've never had a single person come up to me and say anything negative, never ever once, I often ask them, hey, what videos do you like the most? And surprisingly, the most common answer is in fact natty or nots, and it's from both males and females, young and old. And so I'm frankly surprised. I thought perhaps they'd say, you know, those old steroid and SARM videos from the past, or perhaps the cooking. I don't know. But what the majority of people say is they like the natty or nots. And remember, I don't just say natty or not and say you're not natty. Sometimes I say they're natural. Sometimes I say they're not. Depends on the person and what I actually think. And so I give you my honest, unbiased, unfiltered opinion. And if you don't like it, well, you don't need to watch the video. I got tons more of it. Educational videos, talk about dieting, training, how to work out properly in the gym. I have over 2,700 videos. And so if you don't like the 100 natty or nots I've done, why not watch the other 2,600? Makes sense. It's always the people that shout natty the most that turn out to be PD users. At least own it and move on. And Brett responds, bruh, I'm getting tested at my show too. Right, but we both know you can quit pedals a few days before and do a flush and you're good to go. Well, maybe for testosterone, a suspension could get out of your system within a matter of a few days. But for the most part, most steroids are going to be detected for at least 3 weeks if they're orals and or more. And if you're using injectables, especially longer esters, it's going to be several months. And so if he was in fact not natural and looked amazing in the off season, what you just expect is for him to lose a dramatic and serious amount of muscle. You would be thinking, how on earth does this guy have this amazing of physique in the off season? But yet when he competes and gets on stage, he loses all of that freak factor and looks about average. Yeah, you look good in the off season, but it didn't translate to the stage. And a competitor who's being a fake natty could simply say, yeah, I know, I over dieted, I was flat, I forgot to carb up, I ruined my peak week, I did it all wrong. And so they could easily have those excuses. But in Brett's case, he won the frickin' overall. Handedly. And so how do you go from being amazing in the off season to amazing on stage while being natural? Well, you stay natural for both. Same applies to strength. If you're bench pressing 500 pounds in the off season and you enter your powerlifting competition and suddenly you're only benching 430, it's like, what happened? You were 500 pounds here 3 or 4 months before the show, and now you're doing 430. Why did you go down by 70 pounds? If anything, you should be staying the same or perhaps even going up.
Oh, but I cut 20 pounds of water the week of the show, and so I lost 70 pounds of strength.
Bullshit, you're not going to lose that much. Yeah, you might lose some. Perhaps your form, technique, the nerves get you. Perhaps you lift a little bit less. But if you see someone far exceed their potential when they compete, when they're being drug tested compared to their off season, that is a very clear and obvious sign they're taking something in the off season. And I see none of these signs in Brett Mosing. I see no evidence he's using performance enhancing drugs. You don't see blemishes in the skin, acne, gynecomastia, none of that. And so the only sign that he might be using steroids is the fact that he looks amazing. But in this case, the guy has elite level genetics. Because he has elite level genetics and been training for several years, this is the end result. And so regardless of the fact that he was in very good shape in the offseason, he still had to essentially follow a bikini girl's diet to get in shape for bodybuilding competition.
Game plan updated. Now we basically have white fish and potato. This is half my carbs for the entire day.
And so think of it, 100 grams of potato is half his carb for the day. Not 100 grams of carbs, 100 grams of potato. And so think of it, he's only consuming about 50 grams of carbs in an entire day during his diet. And so when you're natural, oftentimes it's very difficult to get that ultra shredded and dry appearance. And so despite his amazing genetics, despite dieting like a bikini girl, despite peak week only being around 1,500 calories a day, that he's doing 40 minutes of fasted cardio in the morning and again doing cardio at night. And so despite all of that, the long diet, the fact that he started off with a six-pack, he's still only competing somewhere around 7% body fat. And so what would it look like for someone of the same age who perhaps has about the same level of genetics? Well, look no further than fellow Canadian Samuel Paquin. Guy's also 23, 24 years of age. They're about the same age and perhaps about the same height. Samuel also claims to have turned pro as a natural. He competed and won the Canadian National Drug-Tested Bodybuilding Championships, was given his IFBB Pro card. Remember, he did this at about 21 years of age. And how are his genetics growing up? Well, I'm watching him as a gymnast doing triple backflips off of a horse. The guy was an animal clearly gifted, has several fast twitch muscle fibers. You know, the ones that more easily grow in the muscle. Look at many of the top IFBB pro bodybuilders, and back in their day, they were elite level sprinters. They have very fast twitch fibers. Chris Bumstead, Ian Valera, these guys could sprint, they could jump. Chris is slam dunking. And so the more fast twitch muscle fibers, the more muscle you can put on. Sam Pekin was 128 pounds as a teenager. 128. Not 188, 128 pounds. In his first 2 years of training, he put on over 50 pounds of muscle. In 2 years, remember, this was not a guy who was a couch potato lazy. He was literally a gymnast. Gymnasts use their bodies. They're working their muscles, although with body weight, but they're certainly training. Put on over 50 pounds of muscle in 2 years and turned pro. And since that time is admittedly not natural anymore, and guess what he just did? He won the Classic Physique Professional Division. He got first place and is now off to the Olympia. And so compare Brett Mosing's natural physique to Samuel Pekin. Do you notice tremendous disparities? Brett Mosing would have to put on 40, perhaps 50 pounds of muscle to be able to beat a guy like Samuel. Now, if Brett Mosing were to use and abuse performance-enhancing drugs, it's possible that he could also make the Olympia. I don't know. It depends on whether his genetics are elite or ultra-elite. If his genetics are ultra-elite and he uses performance-enhancing drugs for several years on top of his training he's doing right now, and he has the proper genetic insertions, he might also be able to make it to the Olympia. We just don't know. But if you compare their physiques and compare the fact that they've been perhaps training for the same number of years, and that Brett Mosing would get absolutely murdered by this guy. Even when Samuel Pekin won the natural competition, I don't even think he was natural then. To me, it's hard to get over the fact he put on 50 pounds of muscle in just 2 years. And yeah, I get it, newbie gains. But oftentimes people in their entire lives, they won't put on 50 pounds. Perhaps he just has that 1 in a million genetics. I don't know, perhaps 1 in 100 million. And so because of this, I do in fact think that Brett Mosing is 100% natural. One weakness I did notice is from the sides, his obliques, they don't have that crazy shredded, strided look that you would expect to see. He needs to get the elbows up. He seems to pose here. I don't know how many times I've said, don't pose like this. Biceps higher than the delts. And his future goal is perhaps to get an IFBB pro card in the IFBB doing natural bodybuilding competitions. He has no plans to take performance enhancing drugs, and why should he? He looks amazing. And of all the supplements I would recommend for Brett Mosing above anything, seeing as he's natural, GO2 Max, the main ingredient NMN shown in double-blind, placebo-controlled human studies to make a dramatic improvement in cardio. Not only could he do more cardio, he'd have more energy, burn more calories, make it much easier to diet on. Imagine the suffering when you're on a diet. You don't have nearly the same energy, but with GO2 Max, enhanced recovery, better endurance, you're going to feel that much better during a cut. Looking for GO2 Max or perhaps Cookbook 3.0, that's right, it's brand new, it's now available. Head over to my website, use code Greg, you get 10% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algo. Let me know what you think of this guy. And what about Samuel Pekin? Don't forget to watch one of the bloops, the cookbooks, the training books, the coaching plans by me and my team, the Circle Diet book, also the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. Check it out, code Greg, 10% off. And if you want a free diet and training program, go over to my website, first and last name, email address. It's all you got to do. Become one of the 300,000 newsletter subscribers. Get yours for free. And until next time, I am out.